Hello! This week on the Burt Locker, I'm Burt Green, this is the Burt Locker. Mostly I talk about sports that I like, also what's been going on in the world of grassroots stand-up comedy, which I'm a part of when I can be bothered to get myself out there. I really need to be more proactive with that. But yeah, mostly this week I'm going to be talking about UFC299, which I just watched. Obviously we had the boxing as well, Francis Ngannou versus Anthony Joshua. What's going to be, the fallout of those things, and whatever else I kind of feel like talking about on the Burt Locker this week. So let's start off with UFC 299. First of all, my overall bet, my picks, my win-loss picks were not terrible this week. I only missed out by 2. Benoit Saint Denis let me down, and so did Marina Moroz. Fair play to Joanne Wood. She did really well, actually. Credit where it's due, and I always admit when I'm wrong. I didn't think she had a performance like that at this point in her career, and she looked really good. I enjoyed it. It was nice to see. Benoit Saint Denis, he's still an absolute savage. Even credit to Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier had to weather an awful lot of absolute savagery from the part of Benoit Saint Denis. I still maintain Benoit Saint Denis is one of the best lightweights in that division, and he is one day going to probably be the best in that division. He's just so tough and just frightening. He puts on such a pace. He just needs to tidy up that defense just a little bit, and then I think the sky is the limit. But let's just kind of run through what actually the things that stood out for me. Obviously, you had Robelis Despagny. I don't know. Despain, I think is the Cuban Taekwondo fella. Now you know who I'm talking about, the heavyweight. Yeah, the way he managed to clip Parisian. He kind of threw a kick, fell over, got back up, and then Parisian swarmed in, as he should have done. Parisian was right to do that. That was possibly his only chance to get him. And he managed to clip him whilst moving backwards. And it was a good stoppage. At first, I thought it might have been an early stoppage. In hindsight, looking at the replays, that was absolutely bang on. Michel Pereira looked absolutely phenomenal. I believe that one was at middleweight as well. Let me just double check that. It was at middleweight. Yeah, I think because Michel Pereira used to cut down to 170. I think middleweight is a much better weight class for him. He actually got the submission in the end. He knocked him down with his massive and then he grabbed hold of his neck. It was a fantastic performance against a dangerous guy, actually. Mikhail Alexishenik is really, really good. That's a good win. And although Ion Cutelaba lost, I would like to say he impressed me. Ion Cutelaba looked so much better than I've seen him in the past. He's kind of measured his whole his whole strategy. He's not just going in and winging big punches anymore. He's really being a bit more strategic. Like a lot of people would have quit with his leg was so beat up. A lot of people would have quit, but not Ion Cutelaba. He was still in it, and fair play to him. Good win for Philip Lins as well. Obviously, Kyler Phillips. Absolutely sensational. Sky's the limit for that kid. Obviously, he's just taken out Pedro Munoz, who is ranked 13. So Kyler Phillips will be in the rankings. So you expect another ranked fight for him at bantamweight. You've got Mateus Gamrot taking the win over Rafael dos Anjos. It was just a very impressive all-round performance, really. I like Mateus Gamrot. He was calling out he was calling out Islam Makhachev. I kind of like that as a call out because he was saying Polish wrestling versus Dagestan wrestling. They're very similar. Macy Barber looked pretty good. Curtis Blades versus Jailton Almeida was more or less how I thought it would go. Although I will say this, I was very surprised that Almeida was able to dominate Curtis Blades in that first round in the fashion that he was doing. Curtis Blades is a big lump with excellent wrestling. To be able to just kind of mat return, and just do that over and over again was very impressive. But ultimately, when Curtis Blades decided, you know what, enough of this, I'm just going to pummel this guy until he stops moving. And that's exactly what he did. Fair play to Curtis Blades. Good call out for Tom Aspinall because obviously they need to run that one back. That's a fight that I would like to see. Peter Yan looked great against Song Yadong. I kind of thought that he would. I think people forgot how good Peter Yan actually is. Jack Della Maddalena looked phenomenal against Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns, obviously, he's still very dangerous, but he's past it. He's past his prime. He's coming off a big shoulder injury. I don't know how many more we see in Gilbert Burns. He's still very dangerous, and he can still compete with the best in that division. But Jack Della Maddalena is just, he's just very, very good. Some of the combos there he was hitting with were fantastic. Michael Venom Page was a very fun watch. Wasn't the big highlight reel finish we were looking for, but it was kind of a highlight reel performance because it was fun. Like, he was having a lot of fun in there, and Kevin Holland couldn't hit him. He just couldn't hit him. Michael Venom Page has made a career out of not being hit, and that's how you have a long career in mixed martial arts. Let's be fair. So I'm not sure who you put Michael Venom Page against next at welterweight. I mean, maybe I don't know, Jack Della Maddalena, maybe. Yeah. Do you know what? I wouldn't mind seeing that. Jack Della Maddalena versus Michael Venom Page. Obviously, Jack Della Maddalena, credit to him, by the way, he called out Shavkat Rakhmonov. Nobody calls out Shavkat Rakhmonov. Shavkat Rakhmonov is the scariest guy at welterweight right now. Jack Della Maddalena has asked for a fight with him. Respect to that man. And you know what? That could be a really fun matchup. I would like to see that. So maybe Michael Venom Page can fight somebody else at welterweight. I don't know, maybe even Wonder Boy Thompson versus Michael Venom Page would be fun. I don't know if it does much for the rankings, but wouldn't that be a fun fight? Just stylistically, two karate guys just kicking 7 bells out of each other. That'd be fun. Pretty fun. Obviously, I've already gone over Dustin Poirier against Benoit Saint Denis. No need to go over that again. Sean O'Malley put on a masterclass against Marlon Vera. One thing I would say though, how the hell do you stop Marlon Vera? You just can't, can you? Like Sean O'Malley even said when he hit that knee, he felt something break in Marlon Vera's face, and Marlon Vera just kept going. He's tough as old boots, and actually, he was doing the right thing in the last 2 rounds. He just kept swarming on Sean O'Malley, but Sean O'Malley was just too fast, too accurate, too good, and that was a really that was a benchmark performance. People will look back at that performance and say that was Sean O'Malley was really on good form that night, and I kind of like the call out of Ilia Topuria. Now, a lot of people will be saying Sean O'Malley is avoiding Murad Dvalishvili. Murad Dvalishvili is most likely kryptonite for Sean O'Malley. If Murad Dvalishvili can get a hold of you, he will dog walk you for 5 rounds, and I think that's definitely on the cards if he does fight Sean O'Malley. But also, Sean O'Malley, I kind of prefer the fight with Ilia Topuria just because I think it's a fun stylistic matchup. Ilia Topuria is a great stand-up fighter with phenomenal hands, and Sean O'Malley's going to stay. He's got just very good elusive boxing and just phenomenal speed. I think that's a great matchup. If they did that in Spain, in Madrid, I would definitely try and go to it. All in all, it delivered. I think I had it hyped as a kind of 9.4 card, and I think it delivered on that, honestly. It was really, really phenomenal. Great night of fights. Obviously, we also had the boxing on at the weekend, and I think, look, Josh, that was a nasty knockout to watch. If you didn't see it, spoiler alert, Francis Ngannou got flattened in the second round. And I'll be honest, before the fight, I was just looking at the Tyson Fury fight and kind of, almost wishing in a little way. Because I'm a big fan of Francis Ngannou. I'm not always because he doesn't always do things that I think are rational or correct, and sometimes he says some weird things. But ultimately, I am a fan because I'm a fan of mixed martial arts, and he's a big hitter. And what's not to like about that? So I am a fan of his, but I just didn't think he had any business going into boxing. I thought he was going to get found out, and against Tyson Fury, it was a very close fight. But I think, in hindsight, looking at how Joshua was able to just fustigate him, is there a possibility that Tyson Fury was either not taking Ngannou seriously, didn't train properly for it, or was he just being a gentleman and just kind of I could fustigate this guy, but there's no sport in that. Do you know what I mean? I'll carry him around for 10 rounds. Because the thing is, in the first fight, obviously, in the Fury fight, obviously, Ngannou did drop Fury, but outside of that, the judge's decision was correct. Loads of people were saying that Ngannou got robbed. Outside of the knockdown, Ngannou looked competitive, but only because Fury, it seemed like he was kind of almost allowing it. whereas Anthony Joshua had no interest in kind of entertaining anything like that at all. And Joshua went in there to kill, and he did, and he damn nearly did as well. Ngannou, that was hard to watch. It was a tough knockout to watch. You don't see knockouts like that too often in boxing, especially at the highest level, because they're usually good enough defensively to be able to mitigate some of that impact. They'll get knocked down, but they'll kind of start getting back to their feet, and they'll get counted out. That's usually how a knockout goes in boxing. This wasn't the case. This was Ngannou, like his legs went backwards from under him, kind of like what he did to Stipe, and he didn't move for about 5 minutes, and that's a worry. And it's kind of like, a heavyweight boxer like Joshua, he hits so hard, but normally, like his opponents are defensively, secure enough to be able to mitigate at least some of it. And even if they get knocked out, they're not getting flatlined. Whereas that was Joshua flatlining effectively an amateur boxer, an 0-1 amateur boxer, and now 0-2 amateur boxer. So I don't know if there's anything left for Ngannou. Honestly, he could retire. Like he's made a lot of money, and that's what all this has been about, right? Money for Francis. He's made a huge payday, right? And as people like to point out, I've seen a lot of it on Facebook and all the the forums. Oh, but he made 30 million overall in boxing, and he only made 3.5 million in his entire UFC career. And it's just like, well, why are you even making that comparison? It's if you can't see the difference between what they're doing in Riyadh and a legitimate kind of business model such as the UFC, then I don't know what to tell you. It's not really going to be a productive conversation, because you clearly just have a blinkered viewpoint, and all you want to see is UFC bad, boxing good, boxing. No, why don't they pay their fighters like they pay boxers? You take a look at what undercard boxers get paid, and then come back to me. Then look at the minute. Basically, the UFC, the floor is higher, the ceiling is lower, but they do overpay, they overinvest early on in the fighters' careers, and then they take it back once they start selling pay-per-views, because nobody on undercard of the UFC is selling any pay-per-views, but they still make probably in some cases probably 10 times what a boxer on an equivalent undercard would make. So it's all, there are a lot of things that have to go into it, but ultimately, the difference is that the biggest difference is that the UFC is a business. They don't have unlimited money. They are there to make money. They're there to turn a profit. Whereas what they're doing in Riyadh, they don't care about making money, because they have infinite money. Those guys putting on those boxing events, their bank account says infinite, right? So it's not those boxing events, they don't turn a profit. They don't have to. They're just trying to make the biggest spectacle they can. It's more or less, it's a very, very expensive tourism advert. They're trying to make it a destination. They're trying to say, look, we've got the best of everything. That's what the play is there. Completely different to what the UFC are doing. So when people make those comparisons, it's just very, very silly. It's not really, it's apples and oranges. Do you know what I mean? Just state your preference. Anyway, I hope to see Francis Ngannou back in MMA, but honestly, he could probably just retire at this point. Just enjoy his money and enjoy life. He's had a hell of a road. He came from sand mines in wherever, what was it, Cambodia? Like he literally used to work in sand mines. He managed to an incredible journey. They should write a film about his journey. Honestly, it's unbelievable. I'm such a big fan of the Francis Ngannou story. But honestly, if this is where it ends, that's fine. I'd love to see him ride off into the sunset and be like, you know what? I've got more money than I ever thought I would dream about, and now I'm going to enjoy it. So thanks for everything. Because honestly, I never heard of the guy who's now the PFL champion. In fact, I couldn't even tell you his name. All I know is he's 6'8", he's got decent grappling, and he looked like an absolute monster against Ryan Bader. I think that's a scary prospect to come back to, for Francis. That's not an automatic win. I kind of want to see him just take the money, ride off into the sunset. That'd be pretty nice. But yeah, so I did a stand-up gig last week, and I got a very weird heckler. I ended up on my it was right at the end of my set as well. That was what annoyed me the most. I wasn't really annoyed. It's just like, if you're going to kind of like try and have some involvement, that's fine. We can have a little conversation, but you've got to know when to shut, because the set does need to move on. I can't just be standing having a conversation with you. Do you know what I mean? Just know, like, have our bit, we'll have our laugh, then shut up. But this one guy who was drunk, he just didn't know when to stop. He was like, basically, I had to just, because he took one of my punchlines very, very serious. He took it very literally, and that upset him. But basically, the whole premise of the bit is that vegans cause cancer, which obviously that's not something that I believe scientifically. It's just a silly thing to come to the conclusion of, right? So he then says, "Well, what's your point?" And I was like, "Well, what do you mean? What's my point? This is like it was like, well, that's just your opinion." It's like, yeah, but you understand this is a bit. It's a comedy routine, right? You understand what you came here to watch. What did you think this was a lecture? Did you what is this? Do you know what I mean? Either way, it was outside of that a really, really fun gig and a really fun set. And I'll be back there, Thursday Cambridge, in April. Second week of April, though. So it'll be April 9th. And also, just lastly, I've got a bit of a bone to pick with this. Have you guys seen, it's all over my Facebook, all over my social media, all over Instagram, Huel, right? Now, I have no objection to Huel. On the face of it, look, if you want to have something that's maybe slightly healthier than a sandwich and a bag of crisps for your lunch at work, that is absolutely fine. But I don't like that they are marketing it as a healthy lifestyle, because eating freeze-dried crap that you add hot water to, that's not a healthy lifestyle. I don't care about, look, they put all these vitamins and minerals and everything else in there, but you might as well have a pot noodle and a multivitamin. It's the same goddamn thing. A healthy lifestyle would be really looking at your diet and eating real food. There is no substitute for real food, right? Now, like I said, on the face of it, I don't really mind if it's just being told, look, this is probably better than, some of their adverts are like, better than a meal deal, which is fine. But when they say, look, this is adulting, this is healthy, this is the healthy lifestyle, to replace your meals on a regular basis with freeze-dried noodles with flavoring and vitamins inside, that's not a healthy lifestyle. It's just not true, is it? From a nutritional standpoint, from a flavor standpoint, they taste like garbage, but I have tried them. Right? Honestly, why don't you just boil yourself in it? Like, it's so easy. Just boil yourself some eggs, peel them throughout the day. Like, they're a perfect snack. Boiled egg, just a little bit of salt and pepper on it, done. Lovely. Honestly, and people say, oh, but that's so plain and boring. I would sooner have that than one of their Huel, I tried one of their Huel protein bars, the raspberry ones, inedible. I couldn't finish one. Inedible. Right? So stop trying to sell that as some kind of healthy alternative to real food. That is my only objection. And yeah, I think that's it. Rant over. Do you know what I mean? I just want to see less of it on my newsfeed, trying to kind of lobby for it being a healthy lifestyle. It's not. It just isn't. Come on now. Lions Food Prep, they're really good. I'm a big fan of them, but they're much more expensive. But you get a real meal, you get real food, and the food is actually really good from a nutritional standpoint, from a flavor standpoint. Very, very expensive, but worth the cost. If you're a single person, you don't have time to do all the cooking and everything. Actually, when you factor in the costs of driving to the shop, doing your weekly shop, the petrol, everything else, the fact it gets delivered twice a week and you get real food and the meals are really tasty, and and none of these companies have any affiliation to my show whatsoever. This is legitimately, I've tried them. They are fantastic. Whereas Huel, I've also tried them. Not so good. And like I said, my biggest objection is that if you want to eat that kind of crap, that's fine. I honestly think that a pot noodle and a vitamin tablet would probably, number one, taste better, and number two, probably be much more cost effective and be more or less the same from, if you're looking at it from a health perspective. But it's not healthy to replace any meaningful amount of your meals with a freeze-dried substitute. And I don't feel like I'm out of my mind in saying that. And yeah, so anyway, what have we got next? What is the next UFC event? That's a good point, isn't it? I'm going to have I should have looked at this. Oh, Tai Tuivasa versus Marcin Tybura. That's actually a super fun fight, because that's a fight that that Tai Tuivasa could possibly get his teeth into. There isn't really too many more people on the card apart from Ovid St. Preux is still going. How is he still in the UFC? Good Lord. Yeah, I'll be breaking that down. I'm putting on some terrible bets. Until next time, keep the odds long and the bets terrible.